What up, though? This is Knockouts in 3 Counts. But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their number one goal. And now, since they are rocking with Knockouts in 3 Counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them Knockouts in 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts in 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts in 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts in 3 Counts starts now.
What up, though? It is another Tuesday, and this is Knockouts in 3 Counts, and man, did we have a lot of fucking fights to talk about from last weekend. I mean, you had the UFC, you had ONE FC, you had Canelo in the ring, and tomorrow here in Detroit, we've got AEW's in town too, so if you're at Little Caesars Arena, make sure you check it out. I'll be in the building, J-Bone will be in the building, other Kyle will be in the building. There's going to be a whole bunch of us. There's going to be a gang, motherfuckers. So, with that being said, let's talk some fights. So, who better to do that with than Corey and I's lovely partner for Lights Out 11, Miss Adaire Byerly. How you doing?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Can't complain. At least it's not so cold out here anymore.
I know. I went outside and the sun was so nice today. I loved it.
That's
what
I'm getting at. This lovely weather, get to enjoy the bike out here again, man. No complaints, man. No complaints.
Yeah, I can't fuck with the bike. We've already talked about this. Me and bikes, it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna have to get me a Spider or something, and then maybe I can keep up. But me and bikes, the man's got to know his limits. And to be honest,
a little sidecar, dude. You can ride with Corey, man.
Bro, we've already. I'm not ever riding bitch. Number one.
What, dude?
Number two, we've already talked about this. The reason why I don't want to ride a bike is it's not even I'm worried about myself. I'm more worried about the people around me. So
dude,
it would give me too much like anxiety, and then I would do some stupid shit. That's what would happen. So
I have this image of you guys riding down the road now together. I just can't get that out of my head.
Yeah. Look, this ain't Wild Hogs, motherfucker, so get it out of your head.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, with that being said, man, we had ONE FC on Friday. Adaire, I know you said you didn't get to see that fight as it happened. I checked it out on Amazon Prime. Corey, I know you were watching it. Again, Mighty Mouse gets another W. I mean, I feel like at this point, with all this talk about flyweight, featherweight, bantamweight, all these weights, I feel like Mighty Mouse is the best flyweight of all time. I mean, I feel like that's pretty much undisputed at this point. He wins the trilogy fight with Moraes. I mean, he wins by decision again. Doesn't get the finish, but I mean, dude, that guy is pretty much goated at this point. So, Corey, I know you were watching it. What were your thoughts on the fight, bro?
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing I feel like I need to emphasize when you're talking about ONE FC, they moved all of their weight classes up 10 pounds. So really he's taking on 135ers. He's weighing in at 135 himself, but he's also taking on bigger guys for his frame. So that's another thing why you see like Moraes was so much bigger than him going into the fight, is because the way they do their hydration, they moved everybody up 10 pounds. That being said, the fights were incredibly entertaining. I love the fact that they're making their move to the States. trying to actually make some type of assertion here towards building a market and stuff. I've just really enjoyed. I've talked about it probably a million times here on the show now. I really enjoy what One does as a product that they put out, the way that their athletes seem to be happy with their promotion, just the overall theme that they have as an MMA promotion. I really like the fact that they're getting the push here in the States, the fact that Colorado's kind of accepted their rule set and stuff like that, so they're going to continue to put on more events here. It was just all around pretty solid. It would have been a little better had we have seen a finish in the main event. DJ did.
And don't you be one of those couch fans that we didn't get a finish, so the fight wasn't good. Damn it!
It wasn't because it was. It just seemed like at a certain point, Adriano Moraes was more content with just trying his best to not accept damage and push him up against the cage, and that was my biggest issue with, not necessarily the performance or anything like that, but the fact that it's their big debut, their huge push. You would hope for that to be like a crowning moment at the end of the night. That's my only thing.
Sounds like Corey wanted him some pro wrestling finish. That's what he wanted.
Yeah. No, but other than that, Rod Tang with the crazy elbow to get the finish there in the co-main event. Why can't I think of the jiu-jitsu guy's name? Because what the hell's do you remember his name? It's really hard one to pronounce.
I don't remember that far up the card, to be honest. By the time I turned it on, Mighty Mouse was getting in the cage, so I only really got to see that fight. But all in all, I agree with a lot of what you said. I like that they have like the entrance ways and stuff. It reminds me of Pride. Like I wish more promotions with more of like that walkout and kind of stuff like that. I think another great performance from Mighty Mouse and all that stuff, but all in all, a good card. Adaire, do you got any thoughts on Mighty Mouse and now his run over in ONE FC? Do you think that might be UFC's maybe one of their biggest mistakes in letting somebody go?
He was actually one of my favorite fighters to watch when he was in the UFC. So I've always loved Demetrius Johnson, and so it doesn't surprise me, that he's over here doing what he's doing at ONE. I hate that I missed the fight. I was out in New Jersey for the UFC fights the weekend.
You were living. I ain't mad at you.
Well, the schedules were crazy, so there was something booked every day. That we were running around doing. But I can't wait to see it. But yeah, I love Mighty Mouse, man. I've always liked him. And then also ONE, that organization is really badass. Like I love their production. I've always wanted to go to one of their fights, but they do things. I've heard people say that their fights are like the experience is something else when you're there and you're not just watching on TV, but like when you're actually there, it's just a completely different experience. And some people said it's better than UFC fights. So I would love to see it. I want to experience it.
Yeah, I would love to make a trip to Colorado if they continue to put on these events for something like that. That would be an awesome trip. Just like you said with the production, the fact that like the fans will be in the audience with their like wristbands that are colored. So it'll be like, I don't know if they pick who they want to win before the fight or something, but you'll see like blue and red bands all throughout the like lit crowd, but if the crowd's just a complete blackout. So it's all you see is the bands, it's like it just makes this like weird feel, and they're so quiet, at least with the Asian events. Like they only really cheer at the very end or in between rounds and stuff. So it's like almost like an Apex feel where it's like really subtle and quiet. But when there's the need to cheer, they're definitely there. And then you'll hear like I watch the events all the time in the morning with my brother at work, and they're really awesome. Some of their Thailand events, I really do love what they do. So, yet again, can't wait to see more continued growth from ONE.
Plus, Michigan's other world champ is in ONE FC.
Yep.
Shout out to Jared Brooks. We definitely got to make that happen and get him on the show soon. But definitely a good card from ONE. I'm definitely excited to see what is going to come next for them. I definitely think they're a promotion on the rise. Kind of crazy to hear all that stuff with them and Francis Ngannou and the money that they offered Francis, and it still ended up being other stuff with him not going there. It's going to be nuts to see where he ends up. Adaire, you got any thoughts on where we see Francis Ngannou next?
Man, I don't know. I don't even think he knows.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
He doesn't know. No one knows. I was just talking about this earlier today. I was like, I wonder if he has a manager. I wonder how pissed off his manager is at him right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't, and I don't get into like, how do I say this? I don't get into fighters' business, especially when it comes to their decision making on their business and how they choose to handle it. But I think he has I think he is playing the MMA game like it's the NBA game, and it's not the same. When it comes to value and like trading players and, this person's going to give me this, and he's not using his leverage correctly. I think, and I also don't really truly believe that he understands the business of the MMA politics. So, like, that's what it looks like to me when I was watching and kind of just paying attention. I'm like, this guy he's acting like this is the NBA, like he's an all-star. And if he goes over here, they'll outbid him or outbid this one.
And that his value, his value goes everywhere, because that's the thing. Like, he had his value within the UFC because he was the UFC champion. But now that he's not the UFC champion anymore, Andy hasn't been in the cage in well over almost is it a year or over a year?
It's
at this
almost
point?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was going to say. I thought it was longer than that. So that's why I'm saying he hasn't been in the cage in almost 2 years. So you can't even almost use the UFC champion card anymore.
No.
Because
and also to clarify the thing with the manager thing, from what I heard on Ariel Helwani show, is basically he was working with CAA for a while, and they were the ones that kind of got blacklisted by Dana White and kind of got that whole thing with Kevin Lee and why he got released and yada yada blah blah blah. And so since he has left the UFC and went to go find greener pastures, he has since left his manager and is now, I don't know if he's managing himself or if
I was going to say, I thought he might be negotiating for himself.
I believe so.
Well, it seems like it. So. It seems like it because it's not very good. One, it's not good business decision, and every time he makes a business decision, it's leaked to the public. So I'm like, if he had, what I'm saying, if he had a good manager or a good PR, none of this stuff would be public. All this stuff happens behind doors, that we don't get to hear about. But I just don't think it's being handled correctly. I don't know who's in his ear. I don't know what he's thinking. And you're right. 2 years is a really long time to be out of the cage. And one of the reasons why is because the sport is growing so freaking fast. And you're getting like new champions all the time and new fans all the time. So you have this wave of fans coming in that may not even know who he really is. There were a wave of fans that didn't know who John Jones was like that. You know what I'm saying? And he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
To go off of what you just said too, though, and think about this, he's talking all that about, the money he's making and all this stuff. But think about this. Okay, so you were mad with how much money you were making. But think about this. Now that John Jones is back, that would have had to been the fight.
That would have been the money
would have
fight.
happened.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that he wouldn't, even if Jones made more money than him, you can't tell me that he wouldn't have gotten paid out the ass for that fight.
He could have leveraged that tremendously for himself. And here's another thing that and a lot of fighters know this, like, you don't make all your money through your fight organization. You don't. Like, and you know that when you're at that high, that's when your team around you does the most work to ensure that you continue making money after that title is gone for you or after your rise goes down. There's over 700 something fighters in the UFC. You know what I mean? And that's not even considering other organizations that are coming up and have good fighters as well. So you're talking about a ton of fighters, thousands of fighters at this point.
Yeah.
They're going to come and go, and they're going to go quickly. And MMA fans are not the best fans. They're not loyal. Okay, they like whoever's winning, whoever has a cool story.
And not bottom line in all this, on the other side, if you're a promoter or own an organization, this guy's 36 years old. You haven't fought in 2 years. You're not a spring chicken here, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Your time is running out.
Coming off the ACL surgery as well.
And now he's starting to be known as the difficult athlete that people don't work with.
At 36 years old, that's not a place you want to be, because I'm sorry, but I'm not going to pay you millions upon millions to come in and do one fight and be out.
Well, and look at this too. Like, here's the other thing. I mean, this is the one thing that UFC has done for itself that is very, very smart, and we talk about it all the time. Let's be honest. If you really want to be fighting the best fighters, the vast majority of them are where? In the UFC. If you look at heavyweight divisions in every other organization, every other major organization,
especially
at heavyweight. Yeah. Like Bellator, maybe, okay, you have Bader in them, but Bader's older. You know, you've got, I mean, they don't
UFC guy. And that's the thing with a lot of the other top organizations is their guy ends up being an ex-UFC guy.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And then to be fighting the best heavyweights that there are right now, you can't really do that outside the UFC. And that's just a fact. And so the longer he's out, now he's burned his bridge with the UFC. It's just going to be crazy to see what happens with Francis Ngannou. But speaking of the UFC, you got to be front and center for UFC 288. I'm fucking jealous. But I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty badass night. I was double screening it over here in the studio, had WWE Backlash on the screen, which, dude, Puerto Rico looked lit as fuck. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that would have been pretty sweet to be at. But we were double screening that, had the UFC up on the screen, but you had a pretty damn good view of it. So what were your overall thoughts just on the vibe and everything at the Prudential Center for UFC 288?
Well, I would say that the stereotypes of Jersey. It's my first time being in New Jersey. The stereotypes of New Jersey they were pretty accurate. They were live there. Like, there were like 4 different fights that broke out in the audience. Like, and it was crazy. This is while fights were going on, by the way. So this wasn't during breaks. This was while fights were going on. There were fights going off in random parts of the stadium, and people literally turned all their attention to those fights. Like, they took them off the UFC fighters, which they paid to get in and see. To see these people squab in the stands. And there's some that were like, they got caught on camera and got put on some, MMA platforms. But that shit was funny. And it was a little wild in there. It was cool. There was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of booing going on. It was Jersey. Jersey.
What's the thoughts? I don't know which direction you guys were leaning in that title bout for the main event, but what's your guys' thoughts on Aljo getting booed basically in almost his hometown? I mean, I thought that was pretty wild.
I didn't understand it, to be honest with you. It surprised me. I was like, isn't he from here? Like, I had to question, like, I'm pretty sure he's
close enough. I mean, he's from Long Island. He's damn near Jersey.
Yeah, I don't really know why that happened.
And I'm a Aljo guy, man. That one was hurting my heart for him. Like, I was hearing it, and I'm like, man, like, this is supposed to be your homecoming, dude. Like, and you're winning the fight. Like, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Like, is it the absolute most entertaining thing in the world? No, but he's in there striking with them. His takedown attempts may have looked a little sloppy, but other than that, I felt like the fight was.
And let's not forget who he was fighting. He's fucking fighting Cejudo.
Yeah, and it was just like, for the crowd to turn on. I mean, I don't know if they felt that way going into it or whatever, but there was like, during the weekend stuff, he was getting the Aljo and still chants and stuff like that. But like, to hear that on the night of, I mean, what was it like in there? I mean, was it as loud as it seemed over the camera? Because it was. Yeah,
it was loud. Like, it was so loud that the corner, Marab, he like turned around during Aljo's fight and was like flipping off the crowd, like screaming and "Fuck you, motherfucker!" Like, he was screaming and cussing out the crowd, and he was getting hyped. Like, it was crazy. And it was weird. It was like the fighters were against each other, and then the corner men were against the crowd. Like it was interesting. I haven't been to a fight like that where it was that much interaction between the crowd and like, the corner.
I felt so bad for him. I just that one, like I said, it really did. It hurt the soul. As an Aljo fan, man.
But see, that's what I was talking about. Like MMA fans, if they're not loyal,
Toxic ass
Well,
fans.
So shout out to
No kidding.
They
Yeah,
are.
no kidding.
We have the two most toxic fan bases between pro wrestling and MMA, and we decided here, let's just talk about them both. So we get them both. So
well, you gotta understand, like, there's something wrong with us anyway. And I'll say us because I used to be a fan before I started working in the business. Yeah, there's something wrong with us if we like.
We're all still fans of it, or you wouldn't like watching a fight.
Knock them out.
Something is wrong with us anyway because we like watching this.
Yeah,
we're
and then once you pass that other line and start training, like we were talking about when we got to call lights out. Like, I've been around this shit now. God, it made me feel old as fuck the other day because I'm only 30, but I actually thought about it and I'm like, damn, I've been around this shit since I was 13.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a long time and a lot of fights to be around, a lot of crazy, you talk about hostile scenes. Jamal could tell you all about it. I'll never forget. I've talked about it on the show a few times. I was with past guest of the show. Now he fights for Bellator, but he used to fight in the UFC, Miles Jury. We were sitting at the judges table, like cage side. We were at a fight at the Crowfoot in Pontiac. And Darren Cruikshank, that also fought in the UFC, was the referee for the fight that we were there for. And so this dude hits the guy in the nuts 3 times. And then after the 3rd time, he finally disqualifies this dude. And these people start chucking shit from the balcony. And
I heard about this.
See? I told you, Corey, shit got wild, dude.
Was this on YouTube? Was this fight on YouTube?
Probably was. It probably was. It was on Channel 20 back then. That was the thing, because the promoter literally got in the cage. It's like, if you guys don't chill the fuck out, I'm going to shut this whole thing down, because it was on TV, and all you see is people just sucking shit from the...
Oh my God, y'all are ghetto.
Hey. I was sitting at the table. I got hit with a beer.
That's my town, man. This is right where I'm at.
Well, J-Bone, you got to tell your people to chill out, homie. Man, what the fuck?
Let me get on the phone. You let these crazy people in here.
You've hung out enough up here now to realize, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Hey, man, it was the wild, wild west back then. That's all I can say.
The Crowfoot is literally the perfect, if you're throwing downward, target distance is so perfect. God. Stuff like that. Who thought this was a good idea? I mean, they're literally over top of you.
Yeah.
Funny, I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's not probably not the best place to have combat sports. Maybe they shouldn't do that.
Could you imagine fighting and somebody just chucks some shit from the balcony and just blink?
Oh God. But to spin it back on New Jersey, I had seen a lot of people that were in the arena who scored it for Cejudo. I don't know if that was because of the whole crowd being the way it was or whatnot. When you were watching the fight, how did you feel at the end?
I knew that Aljo had won it at the end. And when I was watching, it was strange. I wasn't judging. I wasn't looking at it scoring wise, but I was just watching pressure. I was watching the control. I was watching any type of damage or any type of anything that was effective. And I was up close. So I got to see it a little differently than I guess the rest of the crowd would. There were a lot of times when Aljo made mistakes. There was a lot of openings he had where he could have completely utilized it better and made it more easy for people not to go, the other way. But I know that Cejudo, I know he won some of those rounds. So, but I knew that when the fight was over, I knew that Aljo had won it. I just knew from watching from beginning to end.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of people, I don't know if it was just, like I said, the crowd or whatever the case, but a lot of people in the arena. And even Sean O'Malley had said in his little presser after the fact that he thought Cejudo had won being present for it.
Well, he
But-
wanted Cejudo to win too.
He
so.
wanted Cejudo to win.
Yeah,
man, but
that could
that
also
boy
be the
before.
case. Yeah, that could also be the case for sure. Shout out, you guys got the shout out from Bilal when he was making his way up to the weigh-in or whatever check-in area or whatever right there. What was your guys' thoughts on the co-main?
That was actually one of my favorite fights of the night, believe it or not. And it was because I was so impressed with Bilal and how patient he was as a fighter, and I didn't realize how methodical he was as a fighter either. It's just different. It's different when you get to just sit and really watch, people. And I'm watching. I'm really sitting there watching. Like, I wasn't drunk. I didn't even have a drink in my hand. I'm really sitting there watching, almost like I would be commentating. I'm sitting there watching it. And I really liked the way that he did that fight. And that was not like an easy fight for me or Jamal, because Jamal loves both of them equally. And he was like, I can't choose. I can't even watch. That was a really hard fight for him. Like, the whole time he was nervous. It was pretty funny because I haven't seen him like that before. But so that was a good fight to watch, because it's like, I don't want anybody to lose. I don't want anybody to lose this one. So this is literally just going to be like about pure technique and who can take advantage of and make the most out of the situation in each round.
So for me with that fight, man, it's like I'm in the same boat. Like, I've been singing Gilbert Burns praises for a long time. We talked about that with Mitch McKee that trains with him out there at Killcliff. But when it comes to Bilal, we've talked about it with Shane Taylor from Ring of Honor and everybody that we talk to. For the most part, you get the same sentiment when it comes to Bilal, just like the grind that he's had, dude. And like, I feel like that guy has got the short end of the stick. Like, him and Beneil Dariush are like a spitting image when you look at what's going on with their career. So for him to have that happen, get the fight on such short notice, and then still be able to get a dub over somebody like Gilbert, I've heard a lot of people talk about, Gilbert got hurt. Does that change the win for Bilal? To me, it doesn't, because let's not take away from the fact Bilal took this fight on 3 weeks' notice. He was supposed to fight Rachmanov, which would have been a way different fight than fighting Gilbert Burns. And I mean, at the same time, Gilbert's the one that shot in for the shot. All Bilal did was defend it. At the end of the day, whether he got hurt or Bilal defended the takedown and made him get hurt, like, it's a fight. Yeah. Like, that's what happens. Like, and not to mention, they said Bilal was injured going into the fight too. So if that's the card we're going to play, then it's fair on both sides. I feel like Gilbert isn't going to be hurt super bad from this loss, because for him to take that fight, especially after just fighting a month ago, I don't feel like that's going to do him a lot of damage. But I feel like this is huge for Bilal. I feel like if Bilal doesn't get a title shot after this Colby Leon fight, especially with the way that Bilal's fight with Leon ended with the eye poke, like, I quit. Like, if he doesn't get it this time, I fucking quit. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, he took the fight on 3 weeks' notice and coming off of Ramadan. Like, I'm not Muslim, but like, I know the whole like fasting thing and all that stuff. Like, to do that and then jump right back into getting ready for a fight. I mean, I figure he was training anyway with Juliana Pena being supposed to have fought Nunez before she got hurt. But you know what I mean? Like, that, I just feel like there's not much you can say. And at this point, I feel like he's all but really cemented a title shot for himself on this one.
Yeah, I think he should get it.
Yeah,
I would like
if he don't, something's not right here.
Somebody's getting paid off.
Seriously.
I think he does. It's just a question of, is he willing to sit for as long as it takes to end up getting
shit. I would at this point.
I agree. I'm saying the question is, does he though? Because if Colby ends up winning that fight, I have a feeling Colby is going to hold on to that belt for 6 months before he ends up defending whether he's
Shit,
injured or
but
not.
Bilal wants that
If-
fight with
if-
Colby though. So
I
think
if
he
Leon
would gladly wait if you told him, all right,
wins,
you're gonna get Colby. I think he would gladly wait for that
yeah,
fight.
I agree. Yet again, I'm in agreement of Bilal should wait. He's in that position, and I feel it's rightfully deserved. But yet again, Leon's in the same boat, though. Leon came out of that last fight fairly unscathed, at least from what I've been able to gather from the media and stuff. So, and he's also saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be ready till October plus." And at that point, it's almost a year since his last defense. So, either way, I have a feeling it's going to not be quite as quick of a turnaround as Bilal's hoping for. And if he's ends up being a little money hungry or anything like that, I don't think he needs to take another fight, but maybe it may be a thing.
I mean, he just had Bilal just fought two though. It wasn't that far that Bilal fought two, so that's two checks both times on that one. I feel like. I don't know, man.
I know you
I
know
feel
what
like
you're
Bilal's
saying,
in the.
though. I know you know what I'm saying, though. If he ends up having to wait 8 months or something like that, and he gets offered something, main event or something like that, it definitely would not surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about next fights, it says we've heard from everybody. It says it's going to be Aljo and Sugar Sean. Adaire, what do you feel about Aljo and Sugar Sean and what we saw in that cage after that?
As much as I love Aljo, I don't know if he would win against Sugar Sean unless, he took him down and dominated him on the ground and really implemented his wrestling. But if he stands up with him, I do believe he would get knocked out or TKO. And I watched, and again, I met all these guys, love them, but just from what I've seen, like I was saying, and especially in this area, I was seeing a lot of potential that Aljo could have taken, and it was during standing up he didn't take, and I know Sugar Sean would take. You know what I mean? So I don't think it just depends if it's standing up or not. Depends on
that's
who does that.
That's definitely my biggest question with that fight too. Is he able to defend the takedowns? If he's able to defend the takedowns, it totally becomes a different fight, because even though Aljo was able to, in my opinion at least, outstrike Cejudo in this last bout, I feel like that was because of the size advantage. With Sean being the bigger guy in this potential matchup, it really changes that aspect. He's not going to be able to rely so much on his kicks. He's not going to be able to rely on his outside pressure and stuff like that. Where I feel like that was his best work, was being able to stay on the outside and use his length in this last fight. So if the takedown game's not there, it becomes a lot harder for somebody like Aljo. That's for damn sure.
I think Aljo can win it, but the one point that we also have to take into account that also plays for Sean O'Malley too is the one thing that I think has really kept Aljo from getting that star push to where everybody's like the big fan of Aljo. Aljo doesn't have that knockout power. You don't see him knocking dudes and sleeping dudes like Sean O'Malley's doing. Sean O'Malley has power enough to be able to hit him and put his lights out. That's the other thing I feel like that helps Sean, besides all the extra stuff with the hair and the look and the gimmick. Dude, everybody's talking about, do I think that there might be a crossover now that there's the Endeavor thing? If there were ever somebody who could, I always said Conor McGregor, but shit, Sugar Sean would fit just fine over there when he's done too.
My only question is, if Aljo doesn't have to worry so much about the takedowns on the other side, is he able to implement the head kicks and stuff like that a little bit more? I feel like that was one thing that was really missing in his performance on Saturday, was for somebody that was relying so much on their kick game, he wasn't really throwing them up top so much. He was throwing them to the body, he was throwing them to the legs and stuff like that. But For Cejudo,
that also could be fighting Cejudo, somebody that can, if he gets a hold of your leg, can put you on your back in 2 seconds.
That's what I'm saying. And if he's fighting somebody like Sean, who's not going to be relying on those takedowns, even if he does catch your kick, he's just going to be throwing offense back with his hands. I feel like that could definitely change the fight, or at least what the fight looks like.
That's a good point. But, there were a couple other fights that got mentioned after that. Adaire, what are your thoughts on a potential fight between Merab and Cejudo? Because that seems to be something that I keep hearing Henry chirping about on Twitter. They were talking their shit in the cage and all this stuff. I don't know. I think Merab, outside of Aljo, obviously they're not going to fight.
Right.
If it were any other circumstances, I think Merab could be your damn bantamweight champ. So a fight with him and Cejudo would be a banger.
The real question, though, is it Michael Jackson jacket Merab? That's the real question, though, right? Like that's the new mythical fighter right there.
That was so hilarious.
I love that.
That was so hilarious. So I had the pleasure of interviewing Merab earlier this year. I think it was January or February when no, it was January. Interviewed him, and this is when I was on the Realize Recognize podcast with Kevin Holland, and super sweet guy. Oh my gosh, so humble. I got to meet him in person because we did a virtual interview earlier this year, but I met him in person in Jersey. Same thing, super neat, super nice, super sweet. And he is very serious about he's not fighting Aljo. Never will. Like, he's not going to do it. So if it's Henry Cejudo, like, you know what I'm saying? How many other people does he have to fight that are up there, that are ranked, like, and Rob is great. I think he's one of the best. So, why not? If that did happen, I think that one's going to Merab easily.
Well, think about this too. It couldn't have been more perfect timing for Merab too, if you really think about it. So he doesn't want to fight Aljo. We already know it's supposed to be Aljo and O'Malley next. Let's say Merab goes in there and fights Cejudo, and he beats Cejudo too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if by any chance that Aljo loses that belt to O'Malley, well, now Merab's got a straight shot, and I feel like if Merab is able to get him down to the ground, O'Malley's in a problem, and he might be losing his jacket. We're going to fight for the red jacket. The winner gets to look like the homie Santana Jackson out here mucking like a Michael Jackson impersonation, man. It's something else. Like I said, that jacket was fire, though. I'm not going to lie, but it was pretty funny watching Sean all of a sudden. Oh, why has he got my jacket on, bro?
He thought it was his coat guy. He thought he just handed it to the wrong guy.
The picture.
What he was thinking though, he's like, all right, cool, thanks, man. Put this on real quick.
The video clips of him just like putting it on and then cracking like that, like, I did it smile, like that, like little grin of like, dude, it was that was so great. That was like how you guys talk all the time with the wrestling story and stuff like that. For me, that's my type of story right there. You know, like that just made me laugh so hard, and that'll be a thing for. I'm sure that'll get memed, and people will be using it for the next, year of like MMA.
So, who do you guys think wins that fight, Merab or Cejudo?
That pressure's so much, man. That pressure's so much for everybody in the division. I really feel like he's just he's beatable in other aspects of his game, but because of the fact that he's so unrelenting, I feel like you really have to like essentially get lucky and catch him at the moment he stops charging, and then like it's so unrelenting that it's just so much to catch up with. I feel like Merab's like, he's just that guy right now. The pressure is something else.
Well, you talk about pressure, you talk about cardio, you talk about all those things. Before we were going on live, we just had Chase Keebler on, who fought on Lights Out 11 that we got to call. And he told us, do you know that this dude is fighting with one lung? I mean, of all sports, yeah, he's got one lung. He told us the story, which you can go back and check it out. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So he was wrestling, and then a collegiate, in a high school, or was it high school or middle school? Maybe middle school.
I think he said middle school, maybe, but
middle school wrestling match.
He was like 15. I think.
Yeah,
so
he's kicking this kid's ass in a wrestling
school,
match, and the kid gets mad because he's losing. So the kid starts elbowing him in a wrestling match. Well, because of the kid elbowing him, he had gotten a staph infection because of the kid elbowing him in a wrestling match, and because of that, his lung collapsed. So now he's only got one lung. And the guy fights fucking professional MMA.
That would have been a nice.
that
would have been a nice little tidbit to know while we were doing commentary.
Hell yeah, would have.
He's basically a superhero.
I mean, Andy got the dub too.
We were talking to him on the show, and he was like, "I really think it's an advantage for me because my breathing is at a more consistent, and I don't have to worry about." And I'm like, whatever you have to say to hype yourself up to feel like your cardio is
I mean, but think about it.
Wild.
He's got a point.
You know,
if you think about it, because if you're really winded in a fight or training or whatever, sometimes you really be breathing heavy and you're just breathing out real hard. If you only got one lung, it might help you to slow your breathing more.
Yeah, his management, or breath management, has to be insane. That's crazy. We can't even we start going higher in elevation and we get tired as shit. We don't even know what to do with ourselves.
That's why
the craziest thing is that was the fight. Looking back, his opponent's name is slipping me at the moment, but that was the one that you had relations with.
Artoine Steele.
Yeah.
Oh, that was. Oh gosh, I gotta tell Artoine now. That's gonna make him feel even worse.
And that was literally the theme.
How did you only have one lung?
And I literally.
Oh no, she's gonna bag on him.
I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. No, but that's really amazing though. I actually want to read about that scientifically, how that even happens. How does your body get enough oxygen? Your body has to have a certain level of oxygen.
Right.
Natural body. That's interesting to me. That's crazy.
I've just got asthma and I can feel myself wheeze when I would train and fight and shit like that. I could only imagine you got one fucking lung. That's it. You got one lung and you pick a sport where your shit is just up here.
On the commentary, I'd even mentioned he's doing great with his footwork. He's doing great. And then to get essentially out cardioed by the one, it's crazy. To be able to do that and keep up that, it better be
the militia.
The one bag, it better be one bagger.
I would say it should be Iron Lung. That's what I would do. I'd call it shit. That'd be the Iron Man Chase, the Iron Man Keebler. That's what it'd be. That'd be for me, dude. I would be hyping the shit out of that. But yeah, man, it was a good night at Lights Out 11. I'm looking forward to the next one. A little birdie told me there might be one in June, so stay tuned for that. But I don't know. Like we said, there's a lot of good fights that could be coming through the pike. We also had Canelo coming through and getting another dub. Now, J-Bone, I know you were celebrating Cinco de Mayo. I'm still kind of pissed because I didn't get to get my fucking frozen margarita because you picked to go to an Irish pub on fucking Cinco de Mayo. Although the burger was damn good. I'll give you that. The burger was all right.
An Irish pub?
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. Am I right, Kyle? I mean,
Shut
come
the
on.
fuck up. That's not fair. It's not my fault that everybody at Combat One apparently watches knockouts and 3 counts. So shout out to all of you guys who
walked into the best Irish pub in the area, and they still have great margaritas. We have to, have to mix everything. You get a little bit of Irish and Mexican and all that stuff. It's all good, man.
A little corned beef sandwich.
As soon as we walked in, like, hey, knockouts and 3 counts. Like, hey, yeah, margaritas over here.
I mean, it was still a good time, dude. And then we were watching that Game Bred bare knuckle. Shout out to past guests of the show, Joey Starnuts, Joey Penafiel. He was the one that we were telling you, Adaire, that fought Bashy in his last fight. He fought on the Game Bred FC bare knuckle MMA card.
Yeah, I remember
on Friday. So yeah, that was Joe Penafiel is a bad motherfucker, but I did not realize he was 36.
Yeah,
I did not realize he's 36, dude. I don't know why I just thought he was younger than that.
Unless Game Bred Productions.
No, you're not wrong, dude. I had once you said that, I had to look it up.
It's not old, right?
It's not, but dude, I'm just saying, for as many fights as the guy, I'm not saying it's old at all. But tell me that when he came on the show, you thought off the rip that guy wasn't like in his 20s.
I thought he was, maybe mid-20s. That's what I thought.
I thought he was significantly younger than me, and with the nickname The Party, I was like, yeah.
I know, dude, and this guy's like fighting motherfuckers at every weigh-in, dude. So like,
got a lot of energy. I hope I have that kind of energy when I get to that age in a lot of years.
It's all good, man. You only got 6 months to go, but it's all good. But with that being said, man. Dude, Big Country getting the knockout on Dylan Kleckler, though. Son of a bitch. I did not realize that Big Country had that many losses at this point, but dude, did he look like old school Big Country with that knockout? Because he just threw like fighting. He threw this big looping hook, dude, and just crumbled Kleckler in like one shot. I'm like, hell yeah. Like it's old school Big Country.
A lot of weight behind those punches, man.
Yeah, that was for sure. I was watching that fight as well, Kyle, and yeah, that was like you say, vintage performance there, because it was just like Roy Nelson was getting his ass kicked, and then all of a sudden he wasn't, and then all of a sudden he was doing pretty good, and then all of a sudden Kleckler was sleeping.
Well, I don't know that I would say he was getting his ass kicked, because like Kleckler just fought past guest of the show, Josh Burns, you know.
That first
the first round for sure. Like he was landing more shots, but I feel like by the second round, you know, when he's starting to find his timing, dude is starting to catch his timing, because at first I'm like, man, I just feel like this might end up bad. This might end up bad, because he was getting tagged.
Was looking for sure.
He was getting tagged by some fucking shots, like so that could have ended bad. I'm just gonna put this out there. I would totally be cool if Big Country just said, you know, let's get out of this, because I don't want to see him take a nasty one. But dude, the Game Bred FC card was definitely dope. The Scarface canvas was pretty badass. So I
can't even believe how many fights there were over the weekend, dude. I had multiple TVs going. I had the Canelo fight, UFC fight all at the same time. What else was that night? Saturday,
Backlash, bro.
Backlash was that night. How do you even keep up? And then Friday,
I know.
It was just wild.
I know you had talked about walkouts with the whole ONE FC thing. I don't know if you guys seen the Canelo walkout, but that was something to take in there, with the whole fireworks, the whole like dancing crew.
On Cinco de Mayo, you know he had to turn up.
He always does. He always throws.
You talked about this. So my Mexican side of the family, you know, we're there, we're in it. We're wearing flags and everything. It's all there.
Oh, Jesus.
But bro, when I tell you my family gets so antsy between these fights. So there's the co-main event, and then you got the commercial, and then you got the promo, then you got the interview, then you got the entrances, then you got like 3 different national anthems, then another promo package, and then flyovers, whatever they're doing. Dude, it was like an hour and 10 minutes between fights. And by time the co-main event and then the main event, I had cousins that were just halfway through the tequila. It was already done. We're just like, the one cousin don't even remember the finish of the fight.
Yeah, they didn't need frozen ones. Apparently, I was the bitch.
Oh, no, we can't do margaritas on Cinco de Mayo at the house. It's all shots of tequila.
But dude, Canelo's pretty much put himself in a spot at this point where it's like, outside of that Bivol fight, what the hell else is there for him to really do? Like, I could totally see him wanting to fight Bivol again, because Bivol beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that as well. But even at that, it was like he wasn't just chasing gold. He was chasing like 3 weight classes above him gold. Like he had already but he had already made his assertion through the upper divisions and stuff, and then basically had moved a significant amount up weight classes, and then to lose that fight, it's a stain on the record and all that, but you know, it is what it is. You know?
Yeah, I don't think there's much value to go back and fight for that.
Yeah.
It's just
To move all the way back up. I feel like that
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna do it. Like, what was he gonna do? Was he gonna end up faking?
She's still there.
Was he gonna end up facing Fury or some shit? You know, like I feel like he
Right.
did what he did. He moved up the weight
My bad.
classes and
No, that was me. I don't know what the hell I did.
lovely technical. You know, it's all
Well,
we love those around here. It's fine.
That's our cue, boys. It's you know, we've talked a lot about the fights. We got a lot to go on this weekend. This Thursday, we've got Grand Rapids own the Tomahawk getting ready to go fight for BKFC this weekend. We're going to talk to him this Thursday and see what his thoughts are on throwing them fisticuffs bare knuckle. Well, Adaire, before we let you get out of here, first of all, appreciate the time and all that good stuff. And
Yeah,
it was a
greatly
blast calling the
appreciated.
fights with you and all that stuff at Lights Out. Let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on, and all that good stuff. And yeah.
Probably the best place. I got to work on my social media, guys. I really don't like it. I don't like the social media game. It's probably my
I feel
Instagram.
you.
Same way.
My Instagram. Oh my gosh! And then the stupid algorithms keep changing now that they put this like buying the blue check mark thing out. It really affected my views, and I don't want to buy a blue check mark, but I don't know what to do.
It's just $8 a month. It's
I don't
only-
care. I've been talking about media guy. It messed up my views. It messed up my. I'm doing so
big.
well. Anyways, you can find me on Instagram if you type in my first name Adaire, last name Byerly, and you should see me pop up. And then all my other social media is under that name too. So any platform you get on, you want to type in my name, I'll pop up.
Well,
It's
make
gonna
sure
be
you hit
beautiful.
them on the Instas, man. Instagram, IG, get your algorithms together. Make sure you send more motherfuckers towards knockouts and 3 counts. Make sure you're following us at KO3C Pod and all that good stuff. Like I said, we'll be live this Thursday, 9 p.m. with the Tomahawk talking about Bare Knuckle FC this weekend. So in the meantime and in between time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Peace.